though. I'm not feeling the model today. I'm sorry. Hope PNG is fine. Yes, I'm sorry, Donut, for taking away your favorite pretty lady. You're gonna have to deal with it. Uh... Turn it down slightly. Hi, Donut. Hello, Pharaoh. You started early, that explains why I was so not ready for stream. I started late, buddy. I started about an hour late. What are you on about? Oh, what the hell? Hold on. Sorry for coughing into the mic. I don't know where that came from, honestly. It just, like, it jump scared me, too. I have another stunning lady on screen anyway, so, like, who else are you watching? It's at 3 p.m.? Well, okay, yes. So the way that I do it is on YouTube, I try to set the time as something that is, like within this time I will start. Not specifically at this time. Like, especially if I'm getting late, like on days where I'm late, if I'm setting a time, expect it to either start then or before then. So that's when I'm already running late for streams. However, yeah, so I try to aim for, like, okay, I'm already late, so I'll try to start as soon as possible. That's just the time I'm aiming for. I guess I'll make it. You know? Oh, right, by the way, I have, I've got a bar of chocolate. I got a bar of chocolate. I got a can of beer. It's gonna be great. It's not enough to like, do anything to me. I drank half of this yesterday. And then I was just so eepy. I was so painfully eepy last night. I couldn't finish my beer. So I'm finishing it today. But, yeah. Hi, everyone. The last night I passed the hook out in a second. It was crazy. Yeah. I mean, that's good, right? Usually you have trouble sleeping, so it's good that you passed out that easily. Hello, X-Tray. Welcome. Hi, Lethal. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning. We haven't started reading yet, but we will here in a moment. I don't have the model up today. A couple of reasons. One, I'm really not feeling it. Two, just, you know, I'm not feeling it, and it's also just like my phone is not fully charged. For some reason, my charger is painfully slow, and I don't know why. So we're gonna leave the phone to charge today. I'm gonna go with the PNG. It's been a while since I've used the PNG. It's been even longer since I've used the other PNG, you know, the OG one. Lethal, have you seen my OG PNG? Like the old PNG? Because I haven't used it in a long while. Like, ever since I've had the stream layout, I haven't been using my old PNG because this was made for me for, like, because Moss. By the way, all the PNGs and this layout is made by Moss, my friend. He is an amazing artist and works very hard. and I think he deserves more recognition. So please go check him out. You haven't? Okay, let's show you then. This is the old one. She's not as banshee as the other one, but this is the old. This is the one that you see on my reference sheet. Let me show it to you actually. Eh, eh, eh. Let me show you the full thing. Yeah. This is the full thing. This is our old PNG. I was debating on if I want to keep this or the other one, but then I went for the other one. What do you guys think? Should I keep this or should I just go for the other one? Because the other one is more accurate to my skin tone. Back when we made this one, we were having a lot of trouble figuring out exactly what color would suit my skin tone better. That one's more accurate to my skin tone, but that is more so like an extra outfit that Moss made for me. But this is more me entirely. Oh yeah, let me show you the other one in its full form. Also, the normal PNG, the one that I just showed you, it has a lot, like, the facial expression. I do want it to be that way, you know, expressionless, sort of. But Moss said he likes the expression on this better because it looks like she has some sort of emotion on her face. Is a detail that is on the official artwork for this model. But she is supposed to have, like, neon bandages on her... Not bandages, band-aids on her thighs. Because canonically she's supposed to have scars on her thighs. So that's a little cute little detail we added later on. It was like, you know, it would be cute if she had like little band-aids up there. But yeah, she's cute. She's really cute. I really like the just everything. She also got a belly button piercing apparently. As far as what Moss told me. I think I'm gonna go for the other one because I kind of miss her. Like a lot. This bitch. I miss her a lot. So I think we might go for her today. We may make her bigger on the here. There we go. You know I missed the maid one. There is a whole redeem for that, baby boy. There's a reason why I didn't show off. Good all throwback model, yeah. Yeah. There's a whole redeem for the maid PNG. I am not giving it to you for free, man. I'm sorry. So, let me pull up the... Show me Fleshgait. Yes, so we're reading Fleshgait today. It is a creepypasta from the wiki. I have no idea what it's about. So we're gonna find that out today. Let me see. Let me format this correctly. Holy shitterinos. You know, just for format's sake, I'll put it this way. You're gonna come here. There we go. Should be fine. There we go. So today we're reading Fleshgait. I don't know what this is about at all, but we'll see. What's happening? What are you guys doing? Maid Venom, fuck this, man. I do have plenty of points. I also kind of want to get to 100k. 5k points. I'm so new gen. Hi, Bo. Welcome. Vanita's hi. This redeem, that is the redeem. Hold on. Let me, cause the maid model is so, it's so huge. It's so huge. It's so huge. Let me make her smaller. How are you aside from the maid costume? I'm doing okay. I did get a little sick earlier, but that's fine. We are doing better now. That's all that matters. Yeah. Are you happy? 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 Okay. Trying to fit as much of her in the frame as I can. Because otherwise it's gonna bother me. I think this is okay. Okay. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Are you happy? Are you happy? Hi, Mari. Welcome. You finally made it. Let me follow you. Also, can we get a shout out for Mari, please? Aika Web with this PNG is so pretty. She is very pretty. Oh, Slay the... Or do I put clips, sweetheart? The clips go on the server. The clips go in stream clips. So if you scroll up a little bit, there should be Capture's office. With the bad emojis next to it. There's a channel called Stream Clips. Yeah, hi, Mari. Welcome. Yeah, I'm sorry you have to see me like this. This was... Anyways, fuck you mean sorry. Got it, thank you, sweet pea. Oh yeah, the maid costume is on the way, actually, by the way. My bad, gang. It's cute. It is pretty cute. The maid outfit is on the way, the IRL one. So, yeah, it's taking a good few days. But yeah, it was a little expensive, but that's okay. It was funded for. I'm not made of stone. I have feelings. Yeah, the IRL made. Um, it is on the way. Lurk IRL made taking some people out. Well, possibly, because it's primarily gonna be up on the and thank you for the lurk bow. It's primarily gonna be up on the Patreon, but the rest of it, like, I mean, it's probably gonna be up on the Patreon. If depending on like my comfort, how I feel about the pictures, um, I might post sneak peeks on Twitter. Might. Uh, but who knows? Actually, who knows? Let me see. Let me pull up the thing. Oh my god. Wait. PNG2 are so big on the screen too. Oh. Anyways, we were supposed to be reading a story called Fleshgait. I will pause the music for this, so, you know, as we do every time for reading streams. Bongo. But yeah. The fuck did it go? Okay. By the way, for drinks we have water, we have quarter a can of beer, and I've got a snack today. I've got a Chucky. So in case y'all, don't want to, whatever. Fleshgate. Months later, I can remember all of them, down to their slightest idiosyncrasies and quirks. If I mispronounce this word, do not judge me. I'm kind of stupid. They were my friends and they're gone now. There's a hole in my life where they were. Sometimes I'll remember something they said or did and it'll hit me like a ton of bricks. They're gone now and I'm only left with memories of them. I'm sorry for being maudlin and bringing everyone down, but I think this is the only way I can really introduce my story and explain why I feel like I have to type this out. I think that writing this is the only way I can learn to accept that. I try to keep these downer tendencies to myself as I'm writing all of this down, but I can't make promises. I know that being in the third wheel in a group can be a terrible thing, but I can think of something worse, being the fifth wheel. If you're the third wheel, that makes your group a semi-functional tricycle. But if you're the fifth wheel, you're left as some obscure car from the 50s that no one remembers or cares about. Imagine not being able to follow the in-jokes and shared history of one couple and multiply that by 2. Getting stuck as the fifth wheel is twice as bad. That was the frame of mind I had as we all piled into Ian's car to go to the I wish I could know how to pronounce this. Gila? I don't know. National Forest for our hike. I know that's a weird opening to give to all of this after my depressing introduction, but I want you all to have an idea of my mindset. I'm not quite sure how to describe all of this, but I do know that I need to tell someone. I need someone else to know what happened and help me come to terms with it all. I think the only way I'll be able to explain this will be to help you see from my perspective as much as possible. So there we were, driving down to Gila, I don't know, for a hike, with me feeling like the fifth wheel wedged between 2 of Ian's friends who I didn't know. 3 of us were cramped in the backseat while Ian and his girlfriend were up front. I look back at that unnecessary pit of moping in 20 back in August 2016 as one of the last few moments of normalcy I would have had in my life. I tried to make the best of the situation, I really did. Ian was always the more social of us. Our mom used to tell us that Ian could make anyone his friend, but that once I had a friend that I kept them for life. It was one of those parental platitudes that was given to reassure a socially awkward child that there was nothing wrong. Unfortunately, it would take me almost 19 years to learn that that wasn't true. Instead of taking my therapist's diagnosis of social anxiety disorder following a breakdown after an office get-together as a means for seeking treatment, I used it as an excuse to cloister myself off from the world. I stayed in my apartment when I wasn't working and told myself that I was just doing what was best for me. Of course, Ian decided that that wasn't healthy and convinced me to go on a weekend-long hike with him. It wasn't until I showed up at his house at 6 in the morning on Friday, after taking the day off of work, that I saw that he had invited others along. I think he saw it as a means of getting me help and breaking me out of my shell by introducing me to his friends. Unfortunately, though, with Ian's extroverted nature, he didn't realize that I liked being in my shell. It was comfortable, it was safe. A turtle doesn't like being broken out of its shell. It dies. After a brief introduction where I caught no one's name except for those I already knew, my brother and his girlfriend, Jessica. What is this name, dude? Due to morning grogginess and the rushed greetings, we packed up the car and left for our hike. Hi, Forrest. Welcome. You still got beer? Yeah, like I said, I had one can last night, but I got home, right, and I opened it, and I was drinking, and then I got so painfully sleepy that I wasn't able to finish it. I fell asleep, woke up, got out of bed, tried to drink more, literally couldn't because my eyes would not like open or stay open, so I had to like put it in the fridge and go back to sleep. Um, so I'm like finishing the rest of it today. Beer, fuck yeah. Beer is so good. Venom do a spin. Let me see if I can. Will it even let me? I don't think it will let me. Idiosyncrasies. I see. Thank you for the pets. Thank you. What kind of name is that? What is that name, dude? That's what I'm saying. Like, what is that name, bro? Oh. It took 3 hours of mostly awkward silence for us to reach our destination. Ian tried to make conversation, but my short responses and the others' sleepiness killed them off fairly quickly. We found the parking lot near the Gila, I'm guessing, cliff dwellings. Friday morning at the Gila cliff. Cliff. Quiff. This is their parking lot? That doesn't look safe at all. As we unpacked our gear, we took a moment to bask in the beautiful sight that sat perched above us. It's hard to believe that someone could carve an entire town into the face of a cliff. But 700 years ago, people managed to do just that. Given that the parking lot was empty except for us, we would find out why later, and I was in need of some social lubrication. We split a 6-pack of beer. Oh, let's go! And took in the majesty. Here's a picture in case you were wondering what the area looked like. As we finished our beers, we got everything prepared and used the restrooms. Ian explained what path we would be taking in detail. What we didn't know, and what my brother had failed to tell us, was that the West Fork Trail had been closed all that summer due to flooding. To be honest, the path wasn't that dangerous. They had just opted not to clear it due to the recent flooding, so it would be a bit more of a rugged hike. While it wasn't perilous in itself, it did keep us from encountering other hikers, which would cause us a lot of problems when we actually needed help. Ian figured that we could make about 2 to 3 miles per hour and we would be able to complete the Gila Loop, which was about 30 miles long, with enough time to get back on Sunday and be ready for our respective jobs on Monday, with no one any the wiser that we had backpacked a closed section of the national park. As his explanation was a bit heavy on names and locations, some of which I can't recall clearly, I'll opt to include a picture rather than spend a page writing out everything. For the sake of simplicity, this is the path we were planning to hike. Can I see the path? Hold on. just in case I don't dox myself. Advance. Accept the risk and continue. Try again. So it just won't let me look at the thing. That's fucking annoying. Yeah, it's showing me every other image except for that one. Okay, that's just fucking annoying, dude. Whatever. Yeah, it seems we're gonna have to proceed without the thing. Just gonna have to wait. Can I find a picture of it online? Let me see if I can find a picture of it online. Loop. Images. Go loop. Fleshgait. Is this the loop? It's showing me so many different things that don't. I'm gonna cry, dude. Yep, I can't find an image of it. Sad. Quiff. Ooh, man, shut up. How are you doing today? I'm doing alright. Happy pup, welcome. How are you? We are reading a creepy story. Okay. You know what? Hold on. Let me just... It's a little cleaner for you guys. So, no image. In addition, I'll include a more detailed map of the entire area so you can orient yourself if you want to trace the trail we took. If you plan on following along with the path as I tell you about this experience, all I can say is good luck. Even as I stare at it now, I feel just as lost now as I was then. I was going along with the group and trying to keep a positive mind about everything. I want to try and do a better job of getting to know Ian and Jessica's friends. Jessica's friends. fuck is that name, dude? Um, I think my circumstances had finally begun to set in. I had been living in a quiet apartment in New Mexico for over a year and I had no friends. I would go to work and then home about without doing anything else. Sometimes I would spend the entire weekend without saying a single word to anyone or seeing another person. I knew that if I didn't change something quick, that solitude would become the norm and that frightened me. Our first day was relatively quiet. We spent the majority of the time taking in the sights, soaking in the sun, and breathing the fresh air. The hike felt like we were constantly moving upward. As I was accustomed to hiking, I frequently fell behind. As I was unaccustomed to hiking, I frequently fell behind, but I never completely lost sight of my brother's friends. While we took a break under the shade of a tree whose bark looked like dried scales from some long dead alligator. I tried to make small talk with everyone. I fell into a quick conversation with Ian and Jessica about their work and what they had been up to lately. When it came time to talk to the other two, I only managed to get the conversation going for a few sentences before it shriveled up and died. This is the National Forest map. Interesting. Wait, they're gonna hike this whole thing? That's huge, bro. Dried scales from some long dead alligator. This is what it looks like. Hello, thank you so much for the follow. Thrashing Grave, welcome. How did you find me? I found the loop. Gotta look up Loop West Fork Trail map. Oh, give me one moment then. Let me copy that very quickly. Copy, paste. Do you go into images? Oh, okay. Wilderness Loop. It's the first image. Yeah, I'll show you guys. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Let me pull it up for you. Paste. Okay. Turn this on. Go here. This is what it should look like, apparently. Ah, shut up! Go away, go away, no, go away. I don't wanna. I don't care! If you can even see. Okay, hold on. Sorry for flashbanging you there. But yeah, you get the idea. Scales looked like whose bark looked like dried scales from some long dead alligator. This is what it looked like. Um, I remembered assuring myself that it would be easier when we stopped for the night. We rested for a while before continuing our ascent up the Mesa. I don't know. This was where everyone realized how truly out of my element I was here. The path up the Mesa was agonizing for me. It seemed to never stop climbing up, and there was almost no shade to keep the sun from beating down on us. I was sweating buckets, panting and wheezing whenever they stopped to wait for me to catch up. I tried to pretend that I didn't notice their exasperated whispers or side glances, but it was easier said than done. They seemed like the outdoorsy type that had been doing this sort of thing for years. By the time our path started to level out, I was ready to turn around and leave. It wasn't until we reached the top and looked out over everything that I realized how foolish of an idea that was. Even if I was able to convince Ian to give me the keys and let me walk back to the car and go home, I had no idea where I was going or what trail markers we had been using. I imagined splitting off from the group and tromping through the poison ivy, bumbling into a gang of banjo-playing hill folk, or getting lost in the dark and wandering in circles until exhaustion and exposure took me. Even if I did manage to hike back to the parking lot, where was I going to go? Would I go back to my empty apartment, eat a hot pocket, and feel sorry for myself again? I decided to tough it out and continue hiking. We made camp at a dry section of the Indian Creek after having hiked a decent amount. Ian was confident that we would make it back on Sunday and that the next few days were going to be less intensive. We ate some food and stored the rest in a bear bag a ways away from camp. We were passing a bottle of whiskey around in front of a campfire we had built when the conversation shifted to the most awkward moments everyone had experienced. My brother disguised the icebreaker as a conversation starter. Ian retold his story about the first time he met Jessica at a club, where he was way too drunk for his own good and ended up puking into her purse. Jessica bristled at the old memory and jokingly called Ian an asshole for that. Each person shared their stories about a bumbling first kiss, where their braces got hooked together, locking themselves out of their dorm rooms in their underwear, their cringe-inducing high school edgelord personality. Aw, man. Anyways, and caring for a drunken acquaintance who puked into their favorite bag. Then the bottle came to me, and it was my turn to tell them a story. I instantly knew what my most embarrassing story was the moment we started the conversation. I didn't tell them about the door, though. Instead, I made up a story about ripping my pants in front of a group of people during a work interview that I had probably ripped straight from a 90s sitcom. They laughed with me and it felt like a piece of shit. They had bothered to reveal their most embarrassing moments and were commiserating in their shared experience, and here I was too afraid to tell them the truth, to tell them about the door. The conversation continued for a bit afterwards, and we killed the bottle. When it was dead, we all went to bed still pretty drunk after dousing the campfire. I woke up in the middle of the night, desperately needing to use the bathroom. Still a bit fussy from the bullet. I don't know what this is. Whiskey. Oh, ah! If I could talk. Thank you so much for the subscription, Thrash and Graven. Welcome. Hi. How did you find me? What the hell? Thank you. And thank you for the stretch and monster. Hmm. I'm at a dilemma here. I mean, I could open a monster. But I have the thing that I'm already drinking. So, um, what are you drinking? Beer, dude. Like, I'm still sipping on it little by little. If you want to do beer, drink beer. Yeah, I think I'd like to do beer instead because I want to finish this before I open another drink. So I did. Thank you. Why is it such bad? The fucking clip. Shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Anyways. Still a bit fuzzy from the bullet whiskey, I tromped out into the woods to do my business. It wasn't until I was almost done that Nadia's voice cut through the blackness. She asked me if I had a lighter. Since I hadn't heard her approach, the sound of her voice made me jump. I would have scared the piss out of me, and had I not just gone to the bathroom. I mumbled something about having a lighter back around the camp. She told me that she had dropped hers and asked me to help her look for it, but I was too out of it to be any good to anyone, so I told her that we'd look for it later. I vaguely remember her mumbling a protest as I stumbled back to my sleeping roll. It wasn't until I woke up the next morning that I realized how stupid I had been. Apparently, they had heard yowling in the surrounding woods all last night. They thought that the sound could have possibly belonged to the Mexican gray wolf, and no one was sure. Ian knew that they had inhabited the area, but they were very uncommon. I paled at the thought of being mauled by a wolf while out peeing in the middle of the woods. I decided next time I would wake up Ian before going out in the woods to answer the call of nature. We packed up a while later after a light breakfast and continued on our hike. The second day was a little better. The overbearing sun I suffered under previously was hidden behind heavy clouds. We crossed a number of rivers as we followed the 157-729 junction. We went along Little Bear Canyon as we headed towards the TJ Coral, which was towards the end of the hiking loop. As the path hadn't been cleared yet, we frequently had to dodge patches of poison ivy and stinging nettles that had grown emboldened by the season's flooding. I fared much better on this hike, and despite nursing a slight hangover, I felt like I was doing a much better job of getting around with my pack and clunky boots my brother had loaned me. We made camp around midday and purified some water from a nearby river, boiling and adding iodine tablets to them, as the last section of our hike didn't really have many opportunities for potable water. I think that maybe our encounter last time was the yipping and yowling wolves. With the yipping and yowling wolves had added a bit of seriousness to the hike, as there wasn't much joking around or conversations this night. We talked a little bit, but mainly just had something small to eat while we stared into the campfire. Ian and Jessica were the first to call it for the night. I stayed up with the others for a bit, but we were mainly silent. The other two slowly went off after a bit, and I decided to enjoy the warmth a bit longer before getting ready to go to bed for the night. Just as I had finished dousing the fire, I remembered Gary coming up to me and asking for the map. He told me he wanted to plan out the rest of our trip, and that there was a spring nearby that we could really visit that wasn't too far out of the way. I grabbed the map from Ian's pack and gave it to him before turning in. I woke up the next morning to the sound of Ian wrestling around his bag. He sounded angrier the longer he searched. He knocked mess kits into each other as he peered deep into the pack for something he was missing. Frustrated that he wasn't finding the item he was looking for, he turned the bag upside down and dumped out everything. He was practically ready to tear out his own hair, and it seemed like he had spent the entire morning looking for that one thing. Wanting to know what was up, I walked up to him and we started talking. He asked me, "Hey man, you seen the map anywhere? I can't seem to find it." "Where's Gary? I gave him the map last night so he could map out a little detour on the trip so we could visit spring." "Why don't you ask him? He probably knows," I answered. It was then that Ian said something that changed everything. Gar- Gary? Jerry? I don't know. Is this supposed to be pronounced Jerry or Gary? Because the names in this are really weird. Who are you talking about? Do you mean Oliver? Don't tell me you thought his name was. I explained. No, I'm talking about Gary, Jerry, I don't know. Tall guy, kinda lanky. You're joking, right? He looked confused for a few seconds and made a questioning sound like a really old computer trying to process something moments before it catches on fire. The pieces clicked into place and Ian shouted, "Who the hell is Gary?" Getting the attention of everyone in the area. Some guy asked you for our map in the middle of the night and you just gave it to him? You handed our stuff to some random stranger you met in the woods? I tried to explain myself and tell him that I knew Gary and that he did too, since I remember hiking with him the day before, but I couldn't find the words to convey that point. It was here that Jessica stepped in and asked what was going on. Ian vented vitriol. How fucking stupid are you, Evan? Some random guy named Gary. Gary, I don't fucking know, dude. These names. I don't fucking know. I don't know if it's Jerry or Gary, dude. It's brain. You know? Um some random guy named Gary comes up to you in the middle of the night and asks for our shit and you just give it to him? Jesus Christ. We needed that map to get around smoothly since the trails out here haven't been cleared. Ian shouted for about 15 minutes while everyone became aware of our situation. Jessica managed to calm him down enough so we could figure out our next move. While we weren't completely screwed as Ian had memorized on a large portion of the trail markers, it was going to be a lot harder to navigate the necessary junctions to bring us back around to our car. We packed up all our stuff, making sure that the guy hadn't taken anything else, and we left. The entire hike, I could feel Ian's eyes drilling into me. The last time I had seen him this furious was just before he got into a fight with Aaron Fredlinger. What are these names? And beat him to a pulp. He got suspended for a week, and Aaron got a black eye, busted lip, and never said anything about our mother again. Each time we came across a break in the path, we spent a few minutes while Ian tried to remember where to go. The fact that the trails had been closed and the paths were overgrown only served to make everything more difficult. I think that's how we made the wrong turn and began wandering on the faint trail. I don't actually know if that's where it went wrong, since we didn't have the map at the time, but that's my best guess. Further away from home and safety. Towards midday, tensions had reached a critical point. Ian frequently mumbled things that would make a sailor blush while Jessica tried to hide the fact that she was close to crying. Oliver attempted to lighten the situation by telling everyone that we had just had to follow the compass and we would get home safe and sound. Oliver's girlfriend didn't say much. She just stared quietly at her feet as she walked. I think she had the right idea since Lucas was constantly misplacing his footing and slipping. How many people are there? There's Ian, Jessica, Oliver, Oliver's girlfriend. 4 people. Lucas, 5 people. And Evan. That is the person writing the 6 people. But then in the beginning of it, didn't they say he felt like a 5th wheel? Hinting that there are 5 people. Then who the fuck is Lucas? Oh. Since Lucas was constantly misplacing his footing and slipping, he looked like he had downed a 5th of vodka and was now trying to walk home on a tightrope while being randomly shocked with a cattle prod. The realization twisted something deep down inside and made me want to throw up. I stopped walking and began talking to Lucas. What's going on with you, man? Ian, still pissed off at me, took this opportunity to vent a bit. Huh, what are you talking about? Lucas is bumbling and twitching all over the place. What's wrong with him? Don't be a dick, man. You know he has an late stage multiple sclerosis. We told you before the hike started about his condition. As soon as he said it, the events came rushing back to me as clear as day. I recalled Ian putting me to the side and telling me about his friend's diagnosis and how this was likely going to be his last opportunity to undertake a long hike like this, so we had to help him and move slowly. I remembered watching him scramble up the trail and thinking about our own mom and her illness. It brought back bittersweet memories of birthday wishes given to us from hospital beds, infusions with disease-modifying therapeutics. I'm not reading that shit, bro. And hearing her sob quietly to herself in the middle of the night when she thought we were asleep. Guilt flooded over me, and I stepped towards to apologize to Lucas when it happened. Lucas growled at me the instant I took a step forward, and he dropped to a hunched position on his hands and feet. It almost looked like his skin was bristling at a possible threat, and I could see his broken and decaying teeth as he hissed at all of us before taking off at a hopping stride into the woods. He moved like one of those CGI monstrosities from the last Planet of the Apes movie. His shaky and unstable balance was replaced by a more natural and animalistic gait as he loped into the distance and disappeared amongst the trees. The last thing I saw was what I assumed were its clothes, sloughing off its body, revealing that they weren't actual clothes but gray folds of skin. Oliver was the first to talk. What the As soon as Oliver said those words, it was like a switch had flipped that set everyone into panic mode. We began to run along the trail as if it would do us any good. The only thought in my head was to put as much distance as possible between me and that thing. I think it took a good 15 minutes for us to run out of energy with our heavy packs and the disorienting nature of the woods. We tried to catch our breaths, I surveyed the area around us and came to a terrible realization. In our panic, we had run off the path and were now even deeper in the woods. We tried to make sense of what we saw. I just remembered Ian mumbling the same phrase over and over. What the hell was that? The short answer is I was Lucas. The long of it is this. There was no Lucas. Not really. I'm sorry for interrupting the story in the middle like this, but I think now is the best time to try and explain everything. I know how confusing this all seems with Gary and Lucas, but the truth is, I did that because I don't think I could have appropriately explained it to you without you first experiencing it from my eyes. I don't know what to call those things, but they do something to your mind. They insinuate themselves into your memories. They wrap themselves up in a wall of your recollections, and even though you know something is wrong, you can't quite put your finger on it. Your group of 4 friends could grow to 5, and you wouldn't be any wiser. A part of you will stupidly admonish you for ever wondering how many there were. You look at it like you recognize the face. You look at it and you recognize the face. You remember events. You can recall getting drunk at a bar together. You have memories of them crying on your shoulder after a rough breakup. You can recollect everything that happened between you, but none of it's true. I don't know how it does it. It crawls into your head somehow and makes you see things in a way that benefits them. It can mold memories, but it can't mimic human movement. It walks on 4 claws, not 2 feet. It growls, hisses, and snarls. It doesn't talk. It infiltrates, observes, and waits. It was hunting us and trying to drive us deeper into the woods. It was succeeding. We never really reached much of a conclusion about what that thing was, but we did reach a consensus that we had to get out of here as soon as possible. I watched Ian as he looked around at the forest and came to the same realization that I did. We were lost. He didn't tell the others. I think he realized that panicking would only get us in more trouble. Instead, he told us to follow him. The shock of our encounter setting in, we could do nothing but follow his lead and hope it all worked out. Hi again, Stella. We can't really hear because I'm using... Grinder, because I'm using Grinder. Fuck, a Grinder. Proofread my messages before I said them. Yeah, I was sitting here, I'm like, what does you using Grinder have anything to do with watching my stream? The odd one out is who he gave the map to. Yeah. There was no Gary or whatever the hell. It was one of those things. False Hydra type shit, no. um. As we walked, we could hear the sound of distant animals yelling and calling out to each other. The terror of our situation deepened as the others whispered that those were the same noises they had heard the first night out in the woods. Whatever this thing was, it was following us and calling out to other things in the area. At the same time, we couldn't stop thinking about one of them barreling out from the underbush and sinking its black and rotting teeth into my neck before the rest of the group could react. I remember brushing the thought off and mentally reassuring myself that there were 6 of us here, and we had only actually encountered one of those creatures. Wait, fuck, what? Mentally reassuring myself that there were 6 of us here. There weren't 6 of them there were 5. And we had only actually encountered one of those creatures. No, you... Oh my god. Fuck. If violence was needed, we outnumbered them. As the day passed on and we seemingly wandered south in an attempt to pick up another trail that would lead us back to the parking lot, we couldn't help but shake a nagging feeling in the back of my mind. It felt like I had forgotten some important fact that I should have never forgotten about. It wasn't until Oliver mentioned his wish of being back in the car that Jessica stopped dead in her tracks. We all turned towards her, but knew what was coming the second she asked, "We only took one car down, right?" Ian snapped, more fearful than frustrated. Of course we did. Remember how cramped everyone was in that tiny-ass Prius, with all our camping gear smashed in the trunk and on our laps? What about it? Jessica went white, as if this were the first time that Ian had ever raised his voice to her. She paused for a moment before asking, "How many of us are here right now, and how many does your car seat?" Ian's car sat 4 people comfortably, 5 uncomfortably. And there were 6 of us out in the woods at that moment. Everything happened at once. Ian swore. Oliver's girlfriend gave a half shriek and a half gasp, while I looked wide-eyed from person to person, trying to figure out which one of us didn't belong there. Sarah was the only one who managed to say something that was me, Sarah, gargling. She hadn't finished her words before her jaw popped open. I don't mean that it dropped open like she was astonished at something. It popped open as it dislocated from her face. The space between her lips was a massive, sickly pink void of inflamed gums that was at least half a foot wide. She looked at us with dead and dull eyes as she slowly raised a twitching hand up to her jaw and tried to lock it back into a more human-esque appearance. She popped it back into place with a hollow-sounding squelch of meat and bone shifting as if nothing was wrong. But what had just happened before she tried to speak again? "It's me." Ian was the first to react. He stepped towards the failed facsimile of human and swung his walking stick at her face while bellowing, "Get out of here." She hopped back from the attack in a sloppy motion and landed on all fours. Her body shuddered as if an electrical jolt had passed through her as she slowly backed away from us all while facing Jessica the entire time. She hissed at us one last time before retreating deeper into the woods with a convulsing lope. It took a moment for us all to regain our composure before we continued walking while trying to look in every direction at once. I remember Oliver rambling as we walked. He kept asking, although no one was responding to him, "Did you see how it moved? You ever seen one of those documentaries about mad cow disease? The thing was twitching and moving like one of those infected cows. What the hell was that thing? Was it a person? What kind of person can do that to their body?" It tried to talk to us. He rambled for hours before we had to stop. We had to tell him to shut up because we were worried about the thing hearing us through, though that really wasn't the case. We made him stop talking because it only served to scare us further. Despite stopping for the night, none of us actually slept. We sat around a campfire and listened to the sound of high-pitched whining and yelping coming from all around us. It seemed like any time I actually got close to falling asleep, the calls would start up and jolt me awake. We spoke in hushed whispers and tried to figure out what they wanted with us, even though none of us really wanted the answer to that question. Hours dragged on almost endlessly before dawn broke and we continued our hike. We spent Sunday hiking around and trying to find a familiar sight. Without any real sense of where we were and where we were going, our only hope was to stumble across another hiker or find another area with a high enough vantage point that we could survey the entire area. Unfortunately, any elevations we climbed didn't afford a good view of the area, and it was extremely unlikely that we would find another hiker due to the fact that the trail had been closed and wasn't cleared. Even if we did, what were the chances that we would trust them and could be certain that it wasn't one of those things? Midway through the day, Ian whispered to me, "Count the people wearing backpacks. One of them is with us again." I casually looked over my shoulder and noticed that one of our group was walking without any gear. They trailed behind us, but were still within our vicinity. They moved slowly, but didn't show any of the jerky movement of the previous two. The thought that I was learning to mimic our movements unsettled me. Without really thinking, I shucked off my backpack and approached the imposter. Before they knew what was happening, I shoved them as hard as I could. The instant my hands pressed into their shirt, I felt something slick and warm give way, like the outer layer falling off a rotten mango. Their shirt slid off their body into my hands, and I quickly realized it was their skin. The thing was actually naked, but gave the appearance of clothes by altering the color of its almost translucent skin. I dropped the swath of tissue that had sloughed off, and it impacted the ground with a wet slap. The creature toppled backwards and began yelping. I can only describe the sound like this. Imagine getting out of your bed in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. As you are feeling your way through the darkness to get out of the room, you step on your dog's tail. Imagine that startled yelp of pain and the shock that comes along with it. Now focus on that emotion you felt when you heard that noise, that sudden surprise and guilt. In reality, the sound it made was nothing like a hurt dog. It reminded me so much of a wounded pet that I can't differentiate the sound. Here's the worst part. I shouldn't have felt bad. Those things were stalking and tormenting us. They were likely hunting us, and I felt bad for harming it. I shouldn't have felt bad about it, but it wanted me to, and so I did. The thing writhed on the ground on its back for a few seconds, making a pitiable noise. It reached back with its arms and pushed itself upright on its hands and on the balls of its feet. Its joints popped wetly and its muscles and bones adjusted to fit this new position. It crab-clawed away while shrieking the entire time as Ian pursued it with its walking stick, hoping to catch up to it and cave its head in. It wasn't until the thing and Ian had disappeared from sight that I realized that the shrieking wasn't just coming from the monster but from Jessica as well. It was trying to mimic her response. With Ian gone and Jessica's screams possibly drawing more of those things to us, I decided that I had to do something. I stepped forward and wrapped her up in my arms. She was shaking like a leaf in the wind. I stroked her hand and whispered that it was over. She managed to choke out something about its face. All I could make out was that something was terribly wrong with its face. She calmed down as I told her everything was going to be all right. I didn't believe that myself, but it was the only thing I could think of that might bring her comfort. Ian returned fuming that the monster escaped and awkwardly broke off the hug. Ian didn't say anything, he just started walking after, motioning us wordlessly to follow. We continued following him, hoping that he would find the way, but knowing that he probably wouldn't. 6 hours later, we settled down for the night. It felt like we had been going in circles all day and made absolutely no progress. For all we knew, the thing could have been tinkering around with our memories and convincing us that familiar landmarks were new and luring us deeper into the woods. I didn't tell the others, but I think I knew what those things wanted with us. They wanted to lead us deeper into the woods. They were trying to force us to exhaustion, and when we were too weak to defend ourselves, they would descend upon us and eat us. Oliver was right about that. But if that thing is similar to us in any way, then those twitching spasms were likely some sort of prion disorder that came from eating humans. After eating some jerky, since we decided against having a fire and drawing more of them to us, we reached the conclusion that we would have to sleep in shifts. I volunteered for the first watch because my insight into the monster's behavior had robbed me of any desire to sleep. The others went off without so much as another word, but they were exhausted, and it wasn't until an hour into my watch that I realized that I was too. Even given the monster's grotesque appearance, everyone needs sleep. Jessica joined me about 2 hours into my watch. She admitted that she couldn't sleep after our encounter with the creature. I nodded in agreement. Both of us had seen something terrible that the others hadn't. We talked for a good 30 minutes about what we thought was going on and how everyone was handling it. She was worried about Ian. She confessed that he was acting erratic and that he was scaring her. I wrapped my arms around her for a moment and told her that we were all scared. She looked me in my eyes and told me that she was glad I was there and that I felt something twist deep down inside me that I had buried a long time ago when I first met her. The longer she stayed with me on watch, the more personal our conversation became. She confessed that she and Ian had been fighting a lot recently and that she was wondering if they were going to work it all out. At the start of their relationship, they were great together. He made her feel wonderful and comfortable, but now there was something that didn't feel right. Like there was something missing. I listened to her talk about everything that was going on in her life, and I knew I had to do something. I knew that if I didn't do it now, I would regret it. I had to tell her about the door. She listened quietly as I told her everything. It was the event that precipitated my breakdown at work and my social anxiety disorder diagnosis at the therapist's office. Everything started off simply enough one Friday at work. I was in the lunchroom eating my sandwich and reading a book as per my usual, while my coworkers talked about their plans for the weekend. One of them was having a housewarming party, and they were inviting everyone at work. I figured that the invitation was only extended to the people he was talking to, until he asked me if I would be able to make it on Saturday. As it was the first time I had been invited to hang out after work, I chose to go. I spent all of Saturday getting ready, planning what were interesting topics to bring up in case there was a lull in conversation. And the bottle of wine I was planning to give him was a housewarming gift. After psyching myself up, I left to go to the party with the bottle in hand and my spirits high. I convinced myself that I was going to be the life of the party, and that maybe if I played my cards right, I could finally find a friend at work that would make the time fly by instead of dragging on. It wasn't until I reached the house that the false bravado began to crumble apart. I stopped in front of the neighbor's house, as everywhere else already had a car parked there. It was then that I felt my heart beating like I had just run a mile. I began heading up the driveway with the wine bottle slick in my hands from my palm sweating. It wasn't until I reached the front door that I realized that something was terribly wrong. I was breathing faster. All that excitement that had been building up since Friday afternoon was now replaced with something else: apprehension. All of those topics I had thought up seemed boring, and all the reassurances I had given myself seemed hollow. I didn't feel prepared for this at all. At this point, a small part of me whispered something that has stuck with me to this very day. The door by the... What is this? Please don't be loud. Oh, is this a narration? Okay, well, it won't let me listen to it, I guess. Okay, it's just a narration. Never mind. Hi, Casca. I see a trend with miscounting in the recent stories. Sloppy motion. Ayo. Bro. Bro, please. Bro, please. Bro, please. Of course, that's the first thing you react to. I swear to God, dude. It's literally the first thing I hear when I come in. Come in who, dude? Just finished it when I came in. I swear to God, that's literally the first thing I hear. I don't know, man. You're gonna rip me in. How many of these memories are real? Dude, I don't know. Oh, it's a hi, Popcat. Welcome. That voice intimated that they never really wanted me to come out. They had only given that invitation as a courtesy and didn't actually expect me to come out to their house. It said that if I knocked on that door, that I would be making a fool out of myself. It told me that I wasn't even comfortable in my own skin, so how could I even dare to imagine that they would enjoy my company? They wanted to celebrate with their friends. They didn't want to listen to me fumble for something to talk about. All those fears flashed in front of me, taunting me, demanding that I knock on the door and make myself look like an idiot. That part of me told me that I was better off alone, and I listened. I turned around without even knocking on the door, and I left. No one had come in, and the music was playing loudly, so I doubt they would have heard me anyways. I shouldn't have been there in the first place. Maybe I saw them watching me from the window. Maybe I didn't. Maybe they were laughing at me as I drove away, flustered and embarrassed. Maybe they went back to the party and joked about the social recluse who had seemingly freaked out and run away from their house, while I went home and cried in the shower. Maybe. Jessica listened, and I told her the story. She smiled sadly as I started to cry into her shoulder. All of those feelings I had experienced outside of my coworker's house came rushing back. All the fear, foolishness, and fatalistic failure smashed into me like waves on the shore. She whispered soothing words into my ear and waited for me to collect myself. Once I did, she pulled away and told me that it wasn't my fault. It was there under the moonlight with her face inches away from mine that I did the worst thing I had ever done in my life. I kissed her. It was slow, hesitant, and perfect. I looked into her eyes and I saw her beautiful face. She pulled me towards her as she leaned back. Lost in the moment, I held her against me while telling her all the things I should have said when I first met her and realized that I loved her. I held her like that for a few moments, afraid that if I let her go, I would lose this perfect moment. She was warm. She smelled like wildflowers. She smelled like happiness. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I felt comfortable and content. I don't know when I drifted off, but I do remember waking up. In the love-drunk excitement of the previous night, I didn't once think about Ian or the consequences of my decision. I only thought about Jessica and the feelings that I had tried to keep buried for so long. What I did last night was a beautiful mistake. I convinced her to cheat on him with me. I decided to tell him before the truth came out. I needed him to understand how I felt. I needed to apologize. I got up from the ground and stretched. Jessica was gone. I assumed that she had gone back to her sleeping role in the middle of the night. I walked over to Ian, who was just waking up. He rubbed the sleep out of his eyes and asked me if I stayed up all night. The words bled out of me, and once they started, I couldn't stop. I don't know what happened, man. We were just talking one moment and the next. Oh, Jesus, I didn't mean for it to happen. You know I love you, man. I wouldn't do anything to hurt you. It just happened, and now I can't take it back. Jessica's cry of surprise cut me off before I could go any further. But Mia and Ian turned to the sound of her distress, and we knew instantly what had happened. The backpacks with our compass, food, and water had been stolen. It knew. Don't you see it, goddammit? It knew that we could identify it without a backpack. And it couldn't shape its skin to take the appearance of one, so it stole them away from us. Now, the next time it wormed its way into our group, we wouldn't be any the wiser. Jessica and I never talked that night. Jessica had never left my brother's side that night. They had zipped their sleeping rolls together. She didn't open up to me about her worries, and I never actually kissed her. I poured my heart out to a thing wearing Jessica's skin while it was in my arms, as it implanted memories of conversations never shared into my mind. I confessed my truest feelings to an Urstaz entity masquerading as a person. I felt sick. The others woke up quickly after hearing Jessica screaming. We quickly searched around the area, hoping to find some scrap of food or some indication of where our stuff had been taken to. We found nothing. It was long gone. We had no food, no water, and no hope. We had no way of telling when one of those things was hijacking our heads and pretending to be part of our group so it could distract us. With our compass gone, we had no means of following a set direction and hoping to pick the trail back up. In short, we were screwed with a capital S. Oliver demanded to know what I was doing last night. He wanted to know how I could be so careless as to fall asleep when I should have been watching over them and our gear. I lied and told him that someone had come around in the middle of the night to relieve me from my shift. I didn't mention that it was one of those things impersonating Jessica. I couldn't bear to look either my brother or his girlfriend in the eyes at that point. Oliver started to yell, but stopped when he saw that I was on the verge of tears. I don't know if it was mercy or disgust that caused him to stop. At this point, it doesn't matter. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Dude, this is fucking my brain, bro. I'm terrified. What are you doing today? I'm reading a story called Fleshgait. What, bro? I knew it. Bro, I'm losing my shit, bro. Hold on, I need to hydrate. At this point, it doesn't matter. We gathered up the only thing that they hadn't taken in the night, our sleeping rolls, and continued walking. The hike without water or the prospect of food was unbearable. We were already exhausted, and the realization that we were soon going to be starving and dehydration only served to sap more of our energy. Within a few hours of our march, my mouth felt gummy and dry. While we were still under the canopy of leaves, the temperature was still in the high and 80s and low 90s. It didn't take long for dehydration to set in. I kept licking my lips in an attempt to keep them moist, but I could feel them beginning to crack as my saliva began to dry up. As we walked, Oliver picked up his pace and caught up with me. I looked over at him and knew, without him saying anything, that another one of those things had joined our group. He whispered, "Don't look directly at it. Just keep it in the corner of your eyes. I think that's how it messes with your mind." You would explain why you remember that guy that night, but the rest of us can't. You saw him, but the rest of us didn't. Don't get close. Just keep it in the corner of your eyes. It keeps trailing us for about half an hour now. It's been trailing us for about half an hour now. I think it just wants to watch and follow us. I pretended to be cracking my neck and looked at the tag along in my peripheral vision. It trailed behind us by about a dozen feet. In its resting state, its facial features appeared staticky. I could make out eyes and a nose, but it was constantly shifting and rippling like bubbling plastic. At this point, we were too tired to even bother with chasing it off. We just kept walking and hoping that it wouldn't try to join the group. It seemed content to keep its distance and keep us in its line of sight. It followed us for about 2 miles before it broke off towards the trees with a shambling, awkward gait. We were too tired to even try and set up a shift system. We just huddled together in an attempt to convince ourselves that we were safer when we are closer together. But every time one of us got comfortable enough to drift off, those things would start making noise. The noise started off as high-pitched yips whose sound seemed to travel for miles. As the night drew on, they grew more aggressive. I remember one time I was drifting off hearing the grating rasp of my name, Evan. The things weren't just following us, they were learning. They were perfecting their mimicry. The thought disturbed me more than the idea of them out there watching us in the darkness. How long would it take for them to become more human than human? What would they do once they were capable of walking amongst people again? I drifted off to sleep with that thought beating around in my head like a man trapped inside a wall. We got up on Wednesday morning and left without a word. A small part of my brain nagged at me and told me that it should actually be Tuesday morning, but I knew it was Wednesday. Why didn't I have any memories of the day before? At this point, there was nothing left to say. I don't think anyone wanted to theorize on the missing day from our recollection. Some of us had been awake all night without any food or water. The constant stress had completely worn us down. It was just that, nothing else. We continued hiking in the same direction we had been going with the false hope that we would come across someone. In the end, our hike looked more like a death march. My feet were covered in blisters that had ruptured and plastered the soles of my feet to my socks. Every step felt like I was tearing open the sores a bit more. In an attempt to take my mind off the discomfort, I focused on my brother who was walking in front of me. He wasn't as much walking as he was limping forward. He had stopped using his walking stick and was dragging it behind him like it was a broken limb. I watched as he stepped over a rock and the walking stick slipped out of his hands. He kept dragging himself forward as if nothing had happened. He didn't even register it falling out of his hands. It was at that point that I knew something was wrong. I knew that my brother wasn't my brother anymore. The evidence of the entire missing memories of a day. The fact that we were going deeper into the woods and his awkward gait was enough to tell me that. I just knew he wasn't my brother. Not anymore, my brain told me. I quickly picked up his stick and passed it. As I passed it, Amy went to call out to him and ask if he was alright, but I shushed her. I was so sure that one of those things had replaced him and was now leading us deeper into the woods. I realized that I would only have one chance at this. The instant it knew what we knew, it would try and run away. All it would take was one good swing to the back of its head and we would be able to take out one of those things. The sturdy stick had a bit of weight to it, about 5 or 6 pounds, enough to crack open a skull if it was swung hard enough. I began walking faster while trying to avoid the underbush that might give away my approach. The thing wearing my brother's skin continued limping forward as I drew closer. I waited until I was within swinging distance before raising the walking stick above my head. My heart was beating in my chest and my palms were so sweaty that it felt like the stick would slide right out of my hands. It kept on moving forwards, completely unaware of what I was about to do to it. I whispered, "I'm sorry," just before I swung the walking stick down with all my strength. Ian turned to face me as he mumbled groggily, "Sorry for what?" My muscles locked and I stopped mid-swing and the stick stopped just inches away from his face. He blinked in surprise before muttering, "Evan, what's wrong?" His voice sounded distant and empty, like he was in between a walking and sleep state. It was then that I knew the extent of his condition. He was pale and looked like the slightest breeze would blow him over. He wasn't one of those things. He was delirious from dehydration, sleep deprivation, and starvation. The walking stick fell out of my hands and bounced on the ground next to us. I dragged my tongue across my lips and it felt like I was licking sandpaper. I whimpered. Jesus, Ian, I thought you were one of those things. God, I'm so sorry. He didn't react to my apology. He just turned around and continued walking in the direction we were going in. Oh, man. I knew that bitch was dead. Wait, no. Dude, Hi, Thresh and Graven, welcome! Finally, a message. Hi. Dude aware. Yeah. Amy just watched everything unfold numbly before she started following him. Oliver shook his head sadly, but he didn't look any better. His eyes were glazed and his lips were cracked and red from rubbing at them. I watched my brother shambling forward and it reminded me of one of those old voodoo movies where someone is put into a trance and forced to walk until they die from exhaustion. His mouth hung open and he moved like he was being dragged along on puppet strings. I picked up the walking stick and began to follow them. I wondered how much longer he had left in him and what any of us could do if he just fell over and stopped walking. I wondered how much longer any of us had. I don't know how long we walked. Everything melted together in a muddled malaise at that time. I remember the sun setting and rising, but I can't recall how many times, even though I tried. I remember a muddled... What are these words? Of sleepiness, of sleepless nights and walkless... What am I reading? I remember a muddled melange of sleepless nights and wakeless days. I remember losing my footing and tripping a few times, but I barely felt it. The third time I didn't even realize I was laying on the ground until Jessica stepped on me as she was passing by. There was no apology. She was far too gone to recognize that what she had stepped on. I dragged myself to my feet and felt lightheaded, but continued putting one foot in front of the other. The fifth time I fell, I wondered if it would have been better to just lay down and wait to die. An excited yawp behind me from one of those things drove me to my feet. It wasn't until we bumped into the sign for Little Bear Canyon that I realized how close we were to salvation. The post for Little Bear Canyon also had a branching sign that pointed to the direction for TJ Coral, which was only a few miles from where we had started at the Gila Cliff Dwellings if we walked along Route 15. Ian was heading in the right direction and we were almost home free. In my excitement, I began calling to the others to let them know the end was near. I looked around me and shouted, Jessica, Ian, Oliver, Heather, Amy, I know where we need to... The words died on my lips as I counted the names and realized it wasn't over yet. So close. Little Bear Canyon. The others kept moving as if they hadn't heard me talking. The imposter shuffled alongside us for once. And for once, it was easy to identify them. I don't know whether or not they had let down their guard after seeing our conditions, but this one was obvious. She moved slowly, but her movements didn't convey her exhaustion. Everyone else was sweating and looking like the walking dead, but she was fine. I waited for her to get close enough to follow the trail the others were going down before I raised Ian's walking stick and growled, Turn around right fucking now, I can see you. She turned around slowly, and I felt my heart skip a beat. She looked almost exactly like Jessica except for a brown tinge to her hair. She could have been her twin. I knew what it was planning before it even opened its mouth and asked, What are you doing, Evan? Don't call me that, I winced. What are you rambling about? Please move out of the way. We're almost safe from those things. I know what you are. Heather turned white at the realization. She began speaking quickly. I'm not one of those things. Please, Evan, you have to remember. There were 6 of us. Those things wanted us to think there were only 5, so that they can take one of us without the others caring. Those things don't want us all. They only want the weakest one. Please, let's go before they catch. Shut up, I snapped. I raised the walking stick in my hand and brandished it at her. Think about it, Evan. Do I move like one of those things? Do I speak like them? That should be enough to prove I'm human. No. Ian's my brother. Jessica's his girlfriend. I'm your girlfriend. I sat on your lap on the car ride. Please don't kill me. Evan, I love you. Don't you remember? Evan, I love you. I lowered the stick that was in my hands as memories bombarded me. I had met her one night when my brother forced me to go out to a club with him. Heather had been sitting at the bar all night drinking after a particularly bad week. It wasn't until she tried to stand up and fell into my arms that we actually talked. I remember lazy Sundays in bed watching cheesy B sci-fi movies. I remembered holding her close to me after making love and hearing her whisper sweet nothings into my ear. I remembered our life together. I rasped, Heather, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. She cooed. Evan, it's not your fault. She went to touch me and I sprang back like I had been bitten by a snake. The instant I heard those words, I knocked. The stick caught her unaware in the side of her face. I felt her jaw give way under the sudden force of my attack. She burbled through the broken teeth. The second strike dented her temple as the temporal bone shattered. She kept trying to talk, but it was too late. He killed the wrong person. Because the imposter was Amy. She kept trying to talk, but it was too late and too much damage had been done. The door was shut to me now. I kept swinging the walking stick down on her head until it splintered and snapped. I looked up from her twitching body and saw my brother watching me in horror. Heather, God, spoke through gritted teeth and regarded him with red-rimmed eyes. Come on, we have to go. He went to keep talking, but I walked past him. I didn't want to explain it to him. He eventually ran ahead, invigorated with the prospect of finding rescue on the road. I looked behind me one last time. The last thing I saw was one of those things dragging away Heather's corpse. It looked emaciated with half-mad starvation. It looked emaciated and half-mad with starvation. At that very moment, I wasn't afraid of the thing. I just felt pity. Whether or not it forced that emotion on me, I'll never know. I turned away and caught up with the others on Route 15. We were on the road for 15 minutes before we managed to flag down a car and an ambulance was called for us. The doctor said that our prolonged exposure to the elements combined with our starvation and dehydration triggered the auditory and visual hallucinations we experienced. Is the typical response you'd be given after hearing our half-dead ramblings about creatures warping their flesh and our memories to drive us to the brink of death so they could prey on us when we were at our weakest. We spent almost a week there while receiving treatments, recounting our horrific experiences, and when subsequent psyche evaluations before we were released. At our discharge, the doctors told us how lucky we'd been. Most people don't spend almost 10 days lost in the woods and live to tell the tale. I wanted to talk to the others about it, and I know for a fact that I can only recall about 7 of those 10 days. Why do I have these massive gaps in my memories? Why do I sometimes remember things that never happened, could never have happened? Why do I remember smelling wildflowers in my muddled memories? I tried to broach the topic with the others. Ian and Jessica refused to talk with me about it. They insist that this was all a byproduct of the trauma, malnourishment, and sleep deprivation. It's not. I don't really know Oliver or Amy, so that's off the table too. They just want to forget. I refuse to forget. There was no bitch called Amy, dude. Here's the thing I still remember. Nadia asking me to help her find her lighter. I recall staying up late and talking with her by the campfire while she smoked like a chimney. I can recite Gary's terrible puns that he'd make about almost everything and Lucas's determination at hiking this trail while slowly succumbing to the effects of his multiple sclerosis. I can remember whispering sweet nothings to Jessica under the glow of the full moon. I can still envision that moment clear as day, even months later. I know the conversation we had word for word. I can remember the feeling of her skin against mine and the smell of her hair as I pressed myself against her when I reached that one true moment of connectivity. I remember Heather pleading and begging me not to kill her. Despite writing this all months later, I can see all of those things clearly. Sometimes, late at night, I can even remember driving up to Gila National Park with Heather sitting in my lap, playfully grinding against me and telling me how fun our hike was going to be. Sometimes I think about that memory more than I should. Oh, okay. Since I can't talk to my brother or Jessica about this, I have to find some other outlet. I guess I'm writing all of this for that one reason. Catharsis. In the end, I keep wondering if what I did was right. Did I make the right choice? I want you to read this and tell me that I had no other option. The risk of one of them escaping into the city forced my hand. I know that's not the case. I could have walked away or tried to scare her off, but I didn't. What kind of person can look into someone's eyes, remember all the things they did and the life they had, and do what I did? Who can have all those memories and still beat someone to death? It doesn't matter if none of it was real, because in that moment it was to me. Who can look at someone and feel such love for them before you kill them? The answer to that question is simple now that I ask myself aloud. I just don't like the answer. Okay. Bro, there I swear to you, the name Heather sounds more familiar than the name Amy in this story. Also, enough of this shit, bro. Where is my PNG tuber? Too small. Okay. Oh. Sorry about limited messages since I'm working, but nothing will stop me from listening. I'm glad you were here to listen. It made me very happy. He didn't have a girlfriend. Dude, he didn't have a girlfriend, but I swear to you, the name Heather, I feel like there was so okay, no, hold on. There were 4 other people. There was Ian, Jessica, Oliver, and Oliver's girlfriend. What was Oliver's girlfriend's name? Hi to you on the grass. Welcome. Welcome. How did you find me? That's the end. That's the end, dude. I don't think either of them were real. God, our value. Okay. There were 5 of them. I don't know if we learned the 5th one's name. Dude, there was Oliver, Ian, Jessica. Then there was Oliver's girlfriend. Hold on, can I look this up? Oliver's girlfriend's name. Fleshgait. Oliver's girlfriend didn't say much. Hold on, it's gotta be somewhere. Jessica. Nadia wasn't real. Gary wasn't real. Lucas wasn't real. I swear to God, there was no Amy, and they did mention Oliver's girlfriend. Ian swore Oliver's girlfriend give a half shriek, whatever, whatever. Sarah wasn't real. Ian, Jessica. I swear to God, they did mention her name, and it wasn't Amy. This is all them making out, whatever. Oliver, Jessica, Ian, Evan. Dude, what the fuck, man? Twitch recommendation, I'm a sucker for creepypasta. Oh my god. This had to be on r/no sleep love that sub. Probably. This was sent to me on the Discord, by the way, if those of you don't know. I have a Discord. On the Discord suggestions, because I did open a suggestions forum on the Discord for weekly creepypasta readings. So that's where I sent it. And no, I didn't send it. Someone sent it. There. And that's where I got it from. Still listening and still using a grinder. A grinder. Thank you so much for the follow. Do you want the grass? Welcome. Hi. By the way, if you didn't know, because I don't think you did, because you just found me, I am Venom Cat. Usually I'm a VTuber. Weekly? Yeah, weekly. So we read creepypastas every Fridays. Every Friday we read creepypasta. Creepypasta, like Fridays are like creepypasta Fridays for us. Or at least I try to make it as often as I possibly can, unless it's like I actively cannot do it on a Friday. You know? Unless it's that bad of a situation, I usually always do it on a Friday. I'll tell you, last week we read Anansi's Goatman story. We've read a lot of creepypastas over the last few weeks. We started with the classic ones, you know, like Slender Man, Jeff the Killer, and all that. We started with the creepypastas. But we've slowly moved away from creepypastas only, and like we've been doing other things. So if you want, you can join the server. You can also suggest creepypastas. If you look in the suggestions and feedback forum. There is one called Creepypastas Plus Others Reads Stream Suggestions. Yeah, we've read Anansi's Goatman story. We've read Fleshgait. Jeff the Killer, Slenderman, Tiki Toby, Laughing Jack, Eyeless Jack, Smile Dog, Russian Sleep Experiment, Candle Cove, all of them. Squidward Suicide, Abandoned by Disney, Ben drowned. I found the corpse of a time traveler. My boyfriend is taking pieces of me while I sleep. The Rake, Mr. Well Done. Um, we've got a bunch of SCP ones that we are yet to read. So we will read those eventually. Like, initially we were just doing creepypasta streams where we would read a bunch in one go, but now I'm doing, like, dedicated ones because the last few have been quite long. Did you do Candle Cove? I did. Candle Cove is one of my favorites. I did all of them. Because I know there's a lot of, like, you know, versions of not versions, but there's a lot of sequels to Candle Cove and such. So I read all of them. Baraska is a good one too. Send it to me. It's long though. Another good one is the Left Right game. It's long. It's okay. It's okay if it's long, because if it's a particularly long one, I dedicate one full stream to it. Usually if it's short, I read that and then I read a few others if they're all short enough. But the long ones, I dedicate one full stream. Lemon Blossom Girl is by the original author of Candle Cove, Chris Shrub, my beloved. Ooh. The 10-hour long Sun Vanish stream, dude. Oh yeah. Those of you who are new here, I did a 10-hour long stream this once. 10 hours, yeah. So there's this story called The Sun Vanished. I don't know how many of you guys know of it, but it's pretty popular. The Sun Vanished. It's amazing. But yeah, I read it for 10 hours. I a 10-hour stream, sat and read it, the whole thing. One of the best worst stories I've ever read. Please, if you guys want, please send me links to it on the server, because that would, like, really be helpful to me, like, so I can actually access them when I schedule these. However, I will keep a note of them. Oh, I see you, Dio, on the grass, and I see you, Mari. But yeah, I will try to keep a note of them. Sending you the Left Right game. It's so good. I listened to it on Creepcast. I will. I'll look into it. I'll watch it. I'll read it. But yeah, for those of you who don't know who are new here, I usually have a movie model because I'm a VTuber, but I didn't feel like it today. But hi, I'm Venom Cat. I'm your. Oh, fuck, this can't be happening every single time. I'm your vampire cat girlfriend. I didn't have to say it this time. Whoa! Say the line? No, I'm not saying the line. So for context, every time I do an introduction, I forget my introduction and I'm like, I'm what am I? So I'm getting good at it, please. But yeah, every Friday we do this. We do creepypasta. So if you're interested in that, feel free to drop by. Feel free to follow me everywhere else, because I do notify everywhere whenever I do these. Here are all my other links. And yeah, these are fun. I'm going to be keeping the... Hello? Don't tell me OBS crashed. You're still here? Okay, because I got so worried, dude, because shit stopped playing in my earphones and I was like, ah, no. But yeah, I do these every Friday. And usually beginning of the week goes towards some sort of visual novel that I'm playing or some other game. Saturdays go for Abiotic Factor collab, which is a game that I play with a bunch of friends. So, yeah, it's fun. Join us. Follow me everywhere. Be part of my community. Join us. It's very fun. I often also do Discord events where we can, sometimes we watch movies, sometimes we just hang out, sometimes we play games, sometimes we just, you know, listen to music together. We have music nights, where we all hop on voice call and we just share playlists and listen to it together on calls. It's very fun. We also have music clubs. Those are different. Music club is basically when we listen to an album usually, and we kind of share our interpretations of the lyrics, the music, anything. It started with us listening to the Sumeru OSTs from Genshin, because I am in love with those OSTs, and I made everyone listen to it, and we were all like sharing what we envisioned, like what we were imagining, and it was so cool because it's like everyone's thought process is so different. Um, it was really fun. We were also I want to schedule one of those next week probably because I'll try to. I'm not entirely sure, but I want to because it's a lot of yap. It is because it's just like we were listening to OSTs from the Transistor game, right? Like, and I want to finish that. I want to. It was good music. Um, so yeah, it's a fun little time over here. I also do stuff on YouTube. Um, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I do ASMR on YouTube. ASMR, quote unquote. It's like roleplay stuff on YouTube. Um, and I should post a lot on Twitter. So, you know, join us. It will be fun. I promise. Yeah, we did a 10-hour stream. I still can't believe I streamed for 10 hours. It was so wild, dude. Oh. Yeah, I was up all night. It was an experience. It was fun. It was so fun, and people kept saying it didn't feel like 10 hours, and that made me really happy. Ew, can we do music club for everywhere at the end of time at some point? Of course, please. Yes, we can. If you're in the server, you can send them in, where the fuck is it? Music club suggestions. If you look in the suggestions and feedback forum, if you scroll down enough, there should be one called music club suggestions. We have that so that, you know, everything is in one place, so people can keep adding to it if they want, and you know, it's all like it's easier to keep track of. But yeah, if you have suggestions for these, please let me know. Please send them over. I will be sure to get to them eventually. But yeah, that we finished Fleshgate a lot earlier than I was expecting, actually. I have a lot of messages. What? Hold on. It seems like there's some important university stuff that I haven't been paying attention to. What does this say? Dashboard. This is... Uh-oh. Yeah. This is concerning. That's fine. But it's probably not for me. Cool. Okay, sorry. Momentary panic was had because there was some internship stuff from, you know, back then, back in the day. Panic, yeah, internship stuff from back in the day, and I thought, I thought I had to I had to get arrange for something that I didn't have. And I panicked because I was like, oh shit, I don't have this. How am I supposed to submit this document? I don't have the document. Oh, I don't need the document. It's fine. It's fine. Holy shit. But yeah, anyways, tell me how your day has been. After that traumatizing story, tell me how your day has been. Oh. Oh. I'm currently eating my chocolate. Because I could end stream now. I kind of don't want to though. Cause like, it's only been 2 hours. I could go for another hour. Get up and eat something because apparently eating is necessary for survival. It is, as we just witnessed in the story, you know? People can die of starvation. Please eat. Lame? Yes, I know. Another short fiction. If you'd like to pick one at random, then call it for the night. They're very short and all excellent. Ooh, I might, you know, if they're short enough, I might do a full stream of just, like, their stories. If they're short enough. Hold on, Mari. Let me give you the content creator role really quickly. Well, I'll take my leave then. Thanks for a great stream then. Have a good rest of the stream. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for dropping by. Just a little bite couldn't hurt. Just one. Wafer thin. You should also get some food. Do. Please. Food is important. I promise you food is important. It doesn't feel like it, I know. However, it is important. Thank you for the stretch. Also, hi, friends. Oh, I already finished breakfast. Ooh, what did you have for breakfast? And thank you for the stretch, Prince. Welcome, welcome. Were you here the whole time? Oh, man. Oh, God. Oh, big stretch. Holy shit. You were here the whole time? That's good. So you were able to catch the actual reading? Professional lurker, you love to see it. I appreciate all my lurkers. Lurkers are great. Just as long as you guys are, you know, like, somewhat, refreshing the page somewhat frequently because, you know, Twitch is being annoying. And doesn't count lurkers for some reason. We know exactly why, but, you know, it's still annoying. Eggs and toast? Ooh. Also, muting the stream itself, like from the display in the corner, the volume button, muting the stream from there makes it so that lurks stop counting. So if you ever want to lurk, be sure to mute the stream from the tab itself, like mute the tab instead of the stream. Currently fighting a bunch of bosses. Ooh, good luck with that. But owie. I know I said I want to talk a little more, but I think it's coming to a point where, you know, I've been tired lately. He's got a one-sentence repos called the Fulcrum. Interesting. I will look into it for future streams. Thank you so much for your suggestions. Like, genuinely. But yeah, I think I'm gonna raid. If people can, please stay for the raid. We do want to support other people. Go rest, cat, or sleep. Yeah, I'm going to go lay down. I've been sick today. Not sure why. I woke up and I felt like shit, and then I was like, maybe if I take a nap, I'll feel better. I took a nap. I woke up 30 minutes before stream, and I still felt like shit. I had to delay the stream a little bit. Here's our raid message. Let's see. Who are you? There is very few people streaming right now. That's very odd. Usually I have so many options. Oh my god, this person is really cute. Hold on. Let's go raid this person. They're very cute. A funny cake princess. They're a cake princess. That's so cute. What? Let's go. That is adorable. But yeah, I have a Discord. Check out my links if you want. Join our Discord. Follow me everywhere else if you'd like to. No pressure. And yeah, copy our raid message if you want. We are going to go raid a cute little cake princess. Very cute. Be nice and show support and love, okay? They're currently streaming Just Chatting. They're just like chilling, having fun. And thank you for stream. Thank you for dropping by. I will make a raid for YouTube as well. So if anyone wants to drop by there as well, you can. And our next stream is... Oh, fuck. Our next stream is going to be tomorrow. And it's going to be the Abiotic stream, the Abiotic Factor collab. Hopefully everyone will be available. So we can actually stream and not like skip like every other weekend lately. No offense to anyone. One can hope. I'm sure we'll get together. It's fine. I have faith in my friends. Thanks for streaming. Glad I caught it. I'm glad you caught it too. And if you want, drop by tomorrow or any other time. Thanks so much for the stream. Thank you for dropping by and following. Thank you everyone for like following and, you know, subscribing and all of that. It means so much to me, like genuinely. But yeah, we're going to get ready for the raid now. Drop by tomorrow if you want and be supportive of this cute little cake lady. Bye bye.